As the last moments of this arc, Black Clover, the biggest arc in the series, and what really, like I've said, feels like the wrap up of part one of Black Clover. Again, I think we're gonna. I feel like we're gonna get a time skip after this arc. Maybe not like a huge one, but a time skip to a degree. And the one question that I really want to, I'm hoping is answered soon, is what Asta is really going to play as a role in the rest of this arc. Because obviously he's been doing a lot this arc. Every single character really has gotten at some spotlight, which has been great. But Asta still, at the end of the day, is the main character. He needs to have some, I think, final moment within the arc, whether it's something for the future or he has one just kind of big support moment, whatever we get. We already saw that the captains are starting to gather that are within the Shadow Palace, and maybe more will arrive to go against the devil. We have some of the elves now coming to help as well because they're figured out about this guy, and as well as obviously Licht is fighting him. That they know that this guy's not an ally, he's an enemy. Obviously, Licht himself is joining in the fight. We have Nero and the first Wizard King coming in to fight him. We've gotten so many things, as well as like I think small like hints at the fact, because we see that this big demonic slug creature, it dissolves magic within its body, and people with magic, it can pretty much melt on contact, at least parts of them. I think it seems to be more of like kind of like stomach acid based for magic, just dissolving it upon touch. And obviously, you have like what we saw with Yami. If you have magic, it will burn you. But as with Asta, he doesn't have magic; it didn't affect him. So obviously, we know that makes sense to him. But also the fact that the anti-magic swords and the power of anti-magic affect this creature, so it seems more magic based. And overall physical form than anything else. It seems more like a physical mass of magic. Maybe that'll be the. I remember we saw a lava creature, but that was like we haven't got a lot of monsters in Black Clover, so we don't really know how they work. Seems like they will literally just kind of be like magic made living beings, at least from what we've seen so far. And one way that I'm kind of worried is the idea of Asta getting like a crazy power creep and somehow getting way away from all the other characters. Because in a lot of ways, he's very strong. He's stronger than a vice captain, but only in his anti-magic form. And he obviously has to get in a stance to use that. There are characters even still that could keep up with him and fight him using whatever their way of fighting is. Even though Magna is not close to as powerful as Asta, he's more clever. Obviously, we saw that back in the Royal Knights tournament, and he was still enough that he could be some form of contender. We saw him when they were fighting Lufu, the elf that took over Luck. There's a lot of characters that could still mess with him. So I'm wondering how Asta could go against and be of use against this devil without breaking and the power system and getting so far ahead of everyone else. And the way that I really would like to see it is because we've gotten so many other races already in this arc. We got dwarves, dark elves. We got more confirmation of demons, devils, and whatever Nero is going to turn out to be. But it's the question of what could be both beneficial to the story, not feel like it's going to hurt the tone, and not feel like it's just some like unfair out of nowhere way for them to win. Is not Asta himself getting another power up, is I'd like to see the demon inside of the Grimoire take over. And again, a good example of like seeing what it's capable of without it really messing too much of the story is something like go back to Soul Society arc. You saw Ichigo go against Byakuya, and he was keeping up with them, but he was starting to lose. The hollow mask formed, and he took over, and then they had that fight, and then he regained control, and he was pissed off that he wasn't winning at that point with his own power, and but not exactly down the line of that. The thing that I think would work for Black Clover with what we already know is, given the demon that we've seen, the devil, he's very deceitful. He's very scheme heavy. A lot of way that demons are kind of described within a lot of like kind of like a biblical sense. They're always lying. They're always trying to trick people. And one thing I thought was really interesting thinking back is if more devils and demons we see are like that, they're always kind of like trying to mind twist people, puppeteer people along for their own schemes. Is if the demon within Asta's grimoire isn't like that, because we saw an interaction with him during the Witch's Forest arc, and the way he talked to Asta, he seemed fond of him. He seemed straightforward. He didn't seem like he was going to lie to him. He didn't be like, "Oh, I'll take over your body for a second or give you a power up and we'll win." It was like, "Let me take over. I'll handle it." And then Asta was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Dude, that's not cool. I've been so close to you this whole time. Why are you doing this?" And I think that would be a really cool way if to maybe like also add some lore to this guy, the anti-magic demon, devil, again, whatever it may be, to maybe he's different than the other ones, because similar to how he's anti-magic to magic, he acts different than the rest of them. And maybe in his backstory, similar to like, because he's anti-magic and the other ones didn't like him, he switched over and he doesn't like the devils and he actually likes humans instead. We'll figure that out along the way. But just, if he took over Asta's body and it wasn't like the devil we're going against, where he's like, "Oh, I want a physical form, I want a body so I can be whole," or whatever his grand scheme is. We know he was obsessed with getting a body, getting his full power back. And instead, this guy's just like, takes over Asta's body. We have a really cool moment, and then it seems like he's like, you get that moment of like, "Oh God, what's happened to Asta?" And he's just like, I'm just here for the show. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna give him back the spot." Like, it's different, completely different to like Hollow Ichigo or Kurama was to Naruto, where instead everyone assumes that the creature inside of Asta's grimoire, the anti-magic devil, is like a horrific bad guy. A guy wants to take over his body and do all sorts of stuff. And I feel like a lot of the viewers would think that too, just the way he looks, the way he seems. And Asta himself obviously was like freaked out by him. But if instead he was a good guy the whole time, and I think that would be a really interesting, that this whole time we've been kind of like making him out to be a bad guy, but at the same time he's just been like, "I haven't done anything bad this whole time. I've been trying to do good for everybody." And it was like just purely assumptions that he was, looking back on like other kind of tropes, but likable tropes of, a berserker form, like I said, QB Naruto or Hollow Ichigo, anything along those lines, Ethereus Natsu. But like a more powerful, like berserk out of control form, or they're not themselves. But if instead it's the anti-magic demon trying instead to help, not to have some big evil scheme. Like, he's legit is like, "I like Asta. He's a good kid. I don't like the devils. They're a bunch of assholes. I don't like to talk to them. They treated, like, again, if his story is something like similar, maybe similar because of how he was treated. Like, imagine this. This is a theory within a video of a theory. Imagine that theory that I put out there of maybe because he was an anti-magic demon, maybe the demons are born with their magic, their weird power, the same way that other creatures are, but theirs are way different. But because he has anti-magic, the other demons and devils like treated him like shit and bullied him and shunned him. And maybe that's why he liked Asta. Maybe that's why he chose him. He found this guy who was very shunned in a lot of ways, kind of like seen in a similar way. Like, they didn't like me because I have anti-magic, because they're threatened by me. And they don't like you, at least, well, people didn't hate Asta. Well, his family, the other orphans, liked him. They bullied him, but more of like, again, a family-friendly bullying. Other people treated him like shit and just like talked down to him. And I think that would be a really cool way to twist the story and to twist this idea I think people have made out with the idea of like, what is the creature inside of Asta's grimoire scheming? What is he up to? And just the idea of this whole time he hasn't had some evil scheme. He just sympathized with Asta and came to really like him and just generally wanted to help him. And it's only been the assumptions of others that made him out to be a bad guy, and in reality he wasn't. So that would be really cool, and as well as like opening for more backstory on the anti-magic demon, some deeper aspects to his lore and understanding of where he came from and all that, but also maybe hype further, similar to like how we saw Hollow Ichigo and we saw how powerful he was. It's also of like, this is what Asta could be capable of when he further like takes hold of the anti-magic. We've only been, like, when you look at how powerful he is now, he only really has, other than that one form, he has his arm changed, he's got one horn, and it's like like most of it one peck, his eye and a fang. And it's like, imagine what he'll be like further down the line, and maybe there's more beyond just like a full body form. There's so many things that could come of it, and again, it would be a really cool hype moment on top of it, without it being like, man, Asta's so powerful. It'd be more like, man, the creature in the grimoire is hella powerful. Asta could eventually kind of gain that strength if he, continues to work hard and train and become more powerful. And as well as, I think it'd be really cool if that also kind of like, at the same time, a callback to Naruto, the way that he kind of like became buddies with Kurama, whereas like Naruto was like trying to talk to Kurama and trying to get on his good side, and Kurama was just like, I don't like you. I'm sealed in here. This is bullshit. And it'd be more like the demon in the grimoire is trying to befriend Asta constantly, but Asta's just like, I don't want nothing to do with you. You're creepy and you scare me and I don't trust you. And the guy's just like, I haven't done anything for you not to trust me. Why don't you trust me? I think that would just be a really cool twist on the series. And again, Tabata's really good at doing like twists and making things out to completely blow your mind. I mean, again, like stuff like Charmy being part dwarf, there was definitely some good foreshadowing with that early in the story and a couple of parts after that. And I just think that it's one of those aspects he can really pull without it having to be ham-fisted and be too obvious or be forced. And I just would like to see it happen soon, because I think this is the perfect time to do it. Like with Nero there and this devil, if the demon took over, and not only would it be like a really cool moment for probably like fight, maybe some hype for the future, a lot of things to really come out of it, but to also just kind of like have a cool conversation between the devil, the demon within Asta's grimoire, and Nero. Could you imagine like what they would talk about of who knows how old they are, what do they know, where are they from? Maybe we'll finally get names for not only the devil that they're fighting, but also the creature in the grimoire. Because there's been a lot of theories about him and Asta, because there's one of the demons in, I don't remember which, I think it's Christianity, I don't remember exactly which one, obviously named Astaroth, and Asta's name obviously being Asta. It would be a really cool kind of like small, again, breadcrumbs that Tabata has been laying out. He's been doing all of this story, so it wouldn't surprise me if he did something like this. And just, again, blowed everyone's mind once we finally got to that point. So if we ended up getting names for the demons, that could also help theorize of maybe if they're original names he's developed for them, or they're based off of names from more famous demons in some form of religious mythos. But other than that, tell me what you guys think about this. There's been a lot to really talk about within Black Clover recently. We've had a lot to really look at and ponder over, just from the fact that Tabata's he's built up so many things throughout the story that I've really liked. He's been doing a lot of what I've seen with Hiramashima. He'll do a lot of small arcs that are kind of closed off on their own, but they have pieces leading up to a bigger arc, and that's what we're getting right now. Like every single arc before this in Black Clover has felt really self-contained, but with pieces that really just kind of like led to the jigsaw. Like this arc, literally, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and you're like, man, I'm missing a couple pieces, and you realize that you go back and all those other arcs had like an extra 2 pieces, and then those are the pieces that are for this one, and they're all making sense now. And I think that's been really awesome and a lot of fun, especially with this arc, that it isn't only a really good arc, but it's enhanced by all the other arcs, and it makes all the other arcs better by the fact of them leading to this one. So tell me in the comments what you think about this theory of both on the demon itself, what it could do within this arc, and how it can interact with everyone, and how it could all play out. And I'd really appreciate hearing your guys' feedback. But other than that, I'd really appreciate if you would befriend the like button and subscribe button and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.